Nigeria's energy priorities, according to industry leaders, should focus on accessibility rather than aggressive transition to renewables, a path they describe as costly for developing economies. At the same time, Transcorp says it's already seen the positive impact of its new event center on hospitality numbers in Abuja, with plans underway to replicate the successful model in Lagos. Dr. Owen Omogiafo, President and Group CEO of Transcorp Plc, sat down with Arise correspondent Vimbai Moteneri Ekpanyang at the ongoing Future Investment Initiative in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Let's have a look.
Of the Future Investment Initiative, the 9th edition taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We've had the best of the best from all over the world. And of course, you know that not just Africa, but Nigeria is ably represented. I am joined by the President and Group CEO of the Transcorp Group. That's Dr. Owen Omogiafo, OON. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Vimbai. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I was so delighted to see your name on the itinerary before we traveled, because I knew that whatever you had to say on this global stage would pack a punch. So
thank you.
Thank you for being a fantastic ambassador.
Thank you.
And let's get straight into it. Of course, let's start with the session itself. Because your theme was all about the energy trilemma, which is a debate we consistently have. Accessibility, affordability, sustainability, although you added a fourth dimension to it as well during your talk. But where do we stand in Nigeria, both from a public perspective and, of course, from a private perspective, because that's where you're trying to create a revolution?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Vimbai. And let me just go back a bit. So first of all, I'm really delighted to be here in Saudi, and even more delighted to hear how the conversation on energy adequacy is going. This is my third appearance at the FII. 2 years ago, the FII 7, the discussion around energy transition was so strong, where fossil fuel was practically being criminalized at the time, or villainized, if I want to put it in that way. And today, listening since yesterday, the conversation has changed. It's now about energy for all, accessibility, which is now driving sustainability. Of course, there are still some people around the table who are more like, oh, let us stop. Let us just focus mostly on the renewable energy. But the voice for fossil fuel gets even stronger. And that's where we come in. Because you see, for us in Africa, the gap on energy, the energy that we have is too wide. So try to deal with just renewable. We also have existing infrastructure that needs to be powered. And powered through the fossils, gas, so that we can get power to our own people. And we need to get into the industrialization game. So, yes, there's some argument that solar is cheaper, but it's not for us in Nigeria, because we have to import everything that we're going to use to drive the solar, except maybe the sun. We are importing the panels, we're importing the battery. So if you're building an energy system that is heavily reliant on import, where do you start from? Where do you start from?
And this is one of the points you're making, is that I love that you said that load shedding for you is a reality. For them, it might be a theory, but it's energy deficit is something that's a lived reality for us in Nigeria. And that the conversation isn't necessarily around transitioning to any energy mix, but maybe creating a good mix.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on some of your points around creating that energy mix, but not abandoning our core source that we know is going to drive us forward?
Yeah. So at Africa, we're unique, and we are uniquely blessed. All the energy sources, hydro, solar, wind, gas, we have everything. We have all the natural resources to get in there. Part of the discussion that is going on today in the energy inclusion landscape for the whole world is speed to market. Let's look at our country, Nigeria. Nigeria has about 14,000 megawatts of installed capacity. Of that, 80% is fossil fuel, meaning just 20 is it's renewable. Of that 80% that is fossil fuel today, we are only able to produce about 40 to 50% of it because of gas issues. If we're able to deal with the gas issue, which is really quick because it's not a long-term adapting, we have wells that are already there that need to be re-energized and produce gas into the pipelines. What it means that we can very quickly double our output real quick. More investment in the grid. Take our grid to 8,000 megawatts, and you can see the impact. And let me even know, sometimes we talk about these megawatts and like, what on earth are they talking about? 100 megawatts can power between 100,000 to 150,000 homes. So you do the maths going on from there, right? So for us in Africa, and that's really the message that I brought here to the FII, we need to scale up our power, our electricity supply quickly. From supply, we also need investment in the grid, transmitting the power from the supply, taking it to the distribution companies, and finally to the end users. Until we're able to do that, Africa is really not going to be able to get on that conversation. So just put a kind of construct to it. So it's simple in my mind. Electrify Africa. When you electrify Africa, then you industrialize Africa. We industrialize Africa. We are able to produce the solar systems, produce the batteries on the continent. And because of that, that will reduce the cost of this hardware that goes into it. And then we continue to drive our energy sustainability. And of course, following on that, there's so much technology now. Can we also focus on getting technology that can help us produce our oil and gas in a sustainable format rather than just ignoring it? Africa is growing and Africa will continue to grow. And that growth, we're going to manage it to become a world superpower.
Now, I love that you mentioned sustainability. But many people, especially at home, will say that we're not worried about that right now.
Rightfully
It's
so.
accessibility and affordability. I think the conversation has dominated around accessibility for a long time. But this year and over the past few months, or maybe the past year or so, affordability has actually dominated the conversation. I'd love to know your thoughts, especially because you're in private sector. And this is a business at the end of the day.
Oh, it is.
It's market driven. You're looking to attract investment. You're looking to provide, an efficient service, and that comes at a cost. Where do we strike the balance between Nigerians crying about the high cost at which stable electricity comes at, and that accessibility that we're looking for?
It's a mixed bag. Yeah. Over the years, so power is a very interesting thing. It's seen as a social good. At the same time, like you said, it's a business as well. But there is a fundamental part of the earning power of the average Nigerian, the average African. That's really that's what is at the crux of why people talk about the affordability. If you look at actually what the units of power costs compared to be it the US or UK or thereabout, you can see the difference. But what we are looking at here is, can the average Nigerian afford it? But if you want to look at it, we are actually already paying for power. When we run our private generators, it's costing us a whole lot more than when we buy power from the grid. And there's cost in terms of the financial cost. There's cost in terms of the pollution, be it the noise pollution, the air pollution, and then your quality of life just really dwindling when you have to listen to those generators going on and on and on and on. And I'm able to say that because I used to. I mean, we're part of it.
This is our reality.
This is our reality. We're already spending this, and it's now to divert it or rearrange it towards another area. But looking at the overall picture of that accessibility and sustainability, affordability, everything, whatever the ET, we're all in agreement that we need more power in Nigeria. We need more power in Nigeria. It is not an either or question. It's really around, if we're going to be able to power Nigerians out of poverty, there are over 220 million of us. Barely 100 million have access to electricity today. So there's room for the entire ecosystem of the gas-fired, the renewable, and when renewable, I want to really emphasize as well the hydro as well, the solar, the wind, coming in, and then we have a mixed bag that gives us a price that is at a sweet spot. A sweet spot for everybody. And this is also another reason why we really need to do something about our gas in Nigeria. We've invested money already in our infrastructure from the gas turbines. Buying in new machine, you start depreciating all over. The cost to do that is high. The decommissioning cost of going away from the old into the new is high. But if you're able to say, let's turn around our existing infrastructure, make gas available, and quickly start generating, it works. And Transcorp, we are the poster children for this is workable. Our most recent acquisition in generation, Assam Power. When we bought it, we took over 2021. The available capacity was, on a good day, that plant was generating 35 megawatts. As I speak to you, We've taken that 35 megawatts. We are now at 348 megawatts in 4 years. 348 megawatts. And this is through a privatization, us buying an existing asset, turning it around.
And I love that you make this point and bringing in Transcorp. Also, congratulations on your numbers.
Thank
I saw
you.
revenue up 38%,
39.
profit up 39, profit up 26%.
Yes.
Oh, before the tax man. But fantastic numbers.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty sure those speak for you at a forum like this, where the idea is to meet people who are ready to come and do business in Nigeria.
Yeah.
When the Electricity Act was signed, I think a lot of us felt it was sort of the magic wand that would make things move very quickly. But I'd love to know from your experience, what's the appetite for investment into the power sector, specifically the Transcorp Group? You know, what are people in the rest of the world saying? Are they excited to come and invest in power generation in Nigeria? Or are there still a few things we need to iron out?
In the world of development, there are always things to iron out. But the answer is yes, there are still things to iron out. But I would say that the appetite is there, especially as we've gotten some economic indices right. The fact that our Naira is now stable. I know we are all groaning, or we're groaning under the impact of it, but to attract foreign direct investment, it's strong. Yeah. Then on the policy side as well, FDIs, they don't want to be in a country where there's political instability from the policy perspective. The Electricity Act has been able to define roles and guidelines towards how we're going to liberalize the electricity market. We're implementing it. Can it be faster? Yes, but there's implementation and there's a roadmap towards it. Now, thank you for commending us on the numbers.
Beautiful numbers, beautiful numbers.
But you see, the numbers are good, but the impact is also there, and that gives us a lot of joy when you look at our purpose of improving lives and transforming Africa. And of course, my principal, Mr. Tony Elumelu, who's the #1 Afro-capitalist, he's very clear about his messaging that we need to power Nigerians out of poverty. And the good thing about international investors is that they'll have international investors who understand that Africa, we're not about aid. Africa is a solid investment location, right? And their FX goes a long way on the continent, and they're able to turn it around. But yes, I should tell you that the appetite for foreign investors in Nigeria is huge. But what would make it better? So we've had this conversation of the debt that is owed to the power sector, which really needs to be resolved, because when you resolve those, no investor wants to hear that they are owed. Yes, you can be owed for a certain period of time, but it needs to be short. Otherwise, how do you run your business? How do you provide returns to your shareholders? How do you plow back profits to be able to improve your sustainability in the sector? So, but overall, I would say yes. And most especially, there are two places we're seeing a lot of interest and people coming to talk to us. Renewable energy. Renewable energy, there's a lot. And I must commend the MD of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Aliyu, what he's doing in that space. You see a whole lot that's going on right now. We just, in the news last week, United Bank for Africa and Renewer, they've put out some renewable energy space, because we need to get power to the last mile who may not be able to connect to the grid. Then World Bank also has some funds that they are making available to be able to encourage. Private sector, to be able to encourage investments in the power space. And yes, a lot. Private sector is a strong player in our power system. Now, where we really need further, our transmission. The transmission is still 100% government, and I think they should bring us in. We're not
catching up.
We're not catching up.
One end is growing and the other is lagging.
We recently invested in a distribution company, Abuja Electricity Distribution, and we've seen the improvements that are going on in there, improving our technical capacity and able to get more energy to Abuja. First, customer complaints that will be there, but quickly turning it around and driving the commercials as well. So there's a need for that transmission end to be, because they're the middleman. They're the middleman between the generators and the distributors. We can't continue to shed load at source when the end user is in need. So
and the power is there, but the
power is there, and that's part of what we need to focus on. I also encourage bring in the private sector. Look for a way to bring us in. We are all around the table. Nigeria needs to be industrialized. Nigeria needs to attain economic independence, and the catalyst to that is the power sector.
And on power, but in a different way. Soft power. Hospitality is soft power. You know, when we came into this venue and looked around at this King Abdulaziz Conference Center and the level of investment that's been made here, attention to detail and so forth, it makes a strong case for event infrastructure and the contribution that event infrastructure can make to a nation's GDP and, you know, all activities associated around. And you're positioning yourself perfectly for this. So tell me a little bit about the journey so far and how 2025 has played out for you when we look at the hospitality side of your business, which I mean continues to grow in leaps and bounds as well.
Vimba, you're on fire.
I'm on fire.
No, but you see, it's almost like you were in the meeting we were having yesterday, right? This venue is breathtaking.
Yeah.
Breathtaking. And who says we cannot do it? We can. Yeah. And we see through, if we look at what the Saudi Arabian government is doing, they are pushing and driving transformation very strongly, right? In June, I don't know if you were in Abuja for the Afrexim annual meetings.
I was not, but I watched it and it
were you proud?
Beautifully put together. It was world class.
We in Transcorp were very proud because, you know, it was hosted at our new event center,
yes, absolutely.
The 5,000 capacity event center, and we need more. We have our hotel, the 670-room hotel in Abuja. And yes, Lagos is coming up, where we'll be inviting you maybe early next year.
Oh, wonderful.
Or recommission that project and begin to build, because we do need things like that. Our 5,000 capacity event center has gone on to catalyze our performance as a country. There were over 32 nationals in Abuja in June for the Afrexim annual meeting. Prior to that event center, we would not have been able to host such a conference. We wouldn't. Yeah. And now here we are. And we also have our government being very responsive. I must also appreciate the Minister of Finance for the role he played in supporting Afrexim to bring that event center to Nigeria. But without the presence of the Transcorp 5,000 capacity event center, we would have struggled to have that. And we have the weather.
Yep.
We have the people.
Yes.
We are warm, hospitable people. And there's so much money that is tied into hospitality and tourism. And Transcorp, we're going to be right at the forefront. And look at our numbers, because you're very much on top. You know, Transcorp Hotel, the Q3 results, we have already outperformed our performance for full year in 2024.
Wow.
Full year in 2024, and we're looking to
expand. You're seeing the change from having the event center.
Oh yes, the event center, we're seeing the change, and also just driving operational efficiency, and a lot more interest in Nigeria, because our international business traveler segment has also grown over last year. Nigeria is open for business, and we will continue to be at the forefront. And for our expansion, like I mentioned, we're putting the Lagos Ikoyi. We're also right now talking to other partners to see how to establish an event center in Lagos that could also play the kind of role that the Transcorp Event Center in Abuja is playing. So we'll take Abuja, we'll take Lagos, then we face Port Harcourt, so that we are all across.
All across. You're not leaving a single stone unturned.
No.
Dr. Owen Omogiafo, this has been a fantastically enlightening conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking Nigeria's message to the global stage. I know it is well received. And now we sit and wait for the money to come in from those international investors.
Started coming in already. You'll see more and more in our country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.